Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Paul Heyman finally reacts to Jimmy Uso telling Roman Reigns they need help. The WWE Universe thrives on drama, betrayal, and unexpected twists, and few figures have mastered the art of stirring the pot better than Paul Heyman. As the special counsel to Roman Reigns, Heyman has been a constant presence by the side of the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, offering strategic advice and stirring the delicate balance of power within the bloodline. However, after months of internal strife, unexpected turns, and family betrayals, even Heyman couldn't have foreseen the moment when Jimmy Uso, one of Roman's most loyal family members, would deliver the shocking admission, "We need help." The statement wasn't just a simple plea, it was a revelation. And finally, Paul Heyman, the puppet master behind so many of the Bloodline's moves, has reacted to Jimmy Uso's words, setting the stage for an epic clash of pride, power, and survival. But what does Heyman's response mean for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline? And why is this moment so critical in WWE's storytelling? To understand the magnitude of Jimmy Uso's admission, we have to look at the state of the Bloodline over the past year. What was once the most dominant faction in WWE, led by the unstoppable Roman Reigns, has been crumbling from within. The tensions between Roman and his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, have been simmering ever since Roman began demanding more than just loyalty. He began demanding submission. The Usos, once happy to support their cousin's reign as tribal chief, found themselves at odds with Roman's leadership style. Jey, in particular, was the first to show cracks in the facade, challenging Roman's authority and even walking away from the bloodline. Jimmy, ever the loyal soldier, stayed by Roman's side, but even his patience began to wear thin. After months of internal battles, including a high-profile falling out at SummerSlam, it became clear that things weren't the same. The situation came to a head during a recent SmackDown episode, when Jimmy Uso finally admitted to Roman Reigns what everyone else had already seen coming. The Bloodline was in trouble. After a chaotic tag team match that saw Reigns and Jimmy barely escape with a win, Jimmy looked his cousin dead in the eyes and said the words that no one thought they would hear from an Uso: "We need help." The WWE Universe gasped, and Roman Reigns' face told the story. He was not pleased. For a man who had built his entire reign on being the head of the table, the one everyone else turned to for strength, this moment was a slap in the face. The idea that his once proud faction was in disarray, and that they might need outside help, was an insult to his pride. But for Paul Heyman, the situation was different. Heyman has always been the smartest man in the room, a master of manipulation who knows when to strike and when to lay low. And now, after remaining quiet for weeks, Heyman has finally reacted to Jimmy's confession. And in true Heyman fashion, his response was as cryptic as it was strategic. Paul Heyman's reaction to Jimmy Uso's plea wasn't immediate, but when it came, it was classic Heyman, measured, manipulative, and dripping with undertones. In a backstage interview, Heyman finally broke his silence, addressing the situation with his signature calm yet unsettling demeanor. Jimmy is, of course, family. And when family speaks, you listen, Heyman began, his voice carrying the weight of someone who has seen empires rise and fall. But what we need to understand is that the bloodline doesn't need help. It needs discipline. Heyman's words were like a verbal chess move, positioning himself carefully between supporting Roman Reigns' authority and addressing the concerns raised by Jimmy. To Heyman, the idea that the bloodline needs help from the outside was unthinkable. Instead, he framed the internal strife as a temporary setback, a result of Jimmy and Jey's emotional decisions, rather than a systemic problem with Roman's leadership. The tribal chief has been guiding this family to unprecedented heights, Heyman continued, his eyes narrowing. But even the greatest generals face dissent within their ranks. What Jimmy doesn't understand is that the problem isn't Roman Reigns. The problem is the lack of obedience. This statement, though subtle, revealed a key element of Heyman's strategy: shift the blame away from Roman and toward the dissenters. In this case, Jimmy's admission of needing help was painted as weakness, not a reflection of Roman's leadership, but of Jimmy's inability to fall in line. Jimmy Uso's plea for help was born out of frustration, not only with Roman, but also with the constant pressure of living under the shadow of the tribal chief. As one half of one of WWE's most decorated tag teams, Jimmy had always taken pride in being a part of the Bloodline. But over time, the demands placed on him and the pressure to acknowledge Roman at every turn had taken its toll. Unlike Jay, who had openly rebelled and left the Bloodline, Jimmy had tried to keep the peace. But even he could see that something wasn't right. The once powerful Bloodline was now a fractured mess, and Jimmy knew that things had to change if they were going to survive. His statement, "We need help," wasn't just about fixing the faction, it was about saving his family. But Paul Heyman, ever the tactician, saw Jimmy's words as an opportunity. By framing Jimmy's concerns as a lack of discipline rather than a cry for help, Heyman was setting the stage for a deeper conflict within the Bloodline. In Heyman's eyes, there was only one solution. Jimmy needed to fall back in line, or he would face the consequences of defying the tribal chief. Paul Heyman's reaction has set the stage for a brewing showdown within the Bloodline. Roman Reigns, already furious at the idea of needing help, now has to deal with the fallout of Jimmy's words. Meanwhile, Jimmy finds himself at a crossroads. Does he continue to fight for change within the Bloodline, or does he risk being exiled like his brother Jay? And then there's Heyman, the mastermind who always seems to be one step ahead. By subtly undermining Jimmy's plea for help, Heyman is playing the long game, positioning himself as Roman's most trusted advisor, while simultaneously planting seeds of doubt within the family. Heyman knows that as long as Roman remains at the top, his own power is secure. But if the Bloodline crumbles, so too does Heyman's influence. The WWE Universe is now left wondering what the future holds for the Bloodline. Will Jimmy Uso be able to convince Roman that they need help? Or will Roman, under Heyman's guidance, tighten his grip on the family, forcing Jimmy into a corner? As SmackDown approaches, all eyes will be on Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman. The cracks in the Bloodline are becoming too large to ignore, and Heyman's response has only heightened the tension. If Jimmy Uso continues to push for change, he may find himself standing alone, just like his brother Jay. But if he bends to Roman and Heyman's will, the Bloodline may continue to function, though it will be under the iron fist of the tribal chief. Paul Heyman's reaction has reminded everyone that in WWE, alliances are fragile and loyalty is never guaranteed. The Bloodline may not need help in Heyman's eyes, but the question remains: how long can they hold together before the entire empire comes crashing down? The only certainty is this: no matter what happens next, Paul Heyman will be there, guiding the chaos, manipulating the narrative, and ensuring that when the dust settles, he's still standing at the top of the WWE mountain, right beside Roman Reigns, or perhaps alone.